Hello, it is ACN again. We are back, and I'm leaning over the desk because we're in someone's office today. So we're not in the activity center. Today we're in an office, and we're going to take your questions. Today it's going to be mainly about academics because we get so many questions about what you can study here. So we have our advisor with us, Becky, and she's going to talk to you about what it's like to study at ACN, how your credits here help with your U.S. bachelor's degree. And we also have one of our visiting faculty members, and we'll get more into that later, but she is going to talk to you about what it's like to be an American instructor here and what instructors are expecting of you in your classes here at ACN and in America. So that's going to be Dr. Tami Carmichael, and she can say hi now.
Hi.
But that's all you're going to hear from me. And I'm going to step back and let questions come on in. And Becky and Tami will take the lead of this Instagram Live.
Hey, everybody. I see some people have joined us. Yay for that.
Instagram Live.
Moving around a little bit. We thought that we would take this time to talk to people, talk to potential students to see what kind of questions they might have when it comes to the academics. A lot of the questions that I get from students is, what can I study at ACN? What will the classes be like? How do I choose? Those kind of things. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about that. So I do most of the advising at ACN. I just want to show you, this is my office. Oops, I forgot I could turn it around here. So where Nick is sitting is where students usually sit when we're having advising. We do a lot with the map, where in the U.S. you should go. Door's always open. We do a lot of chats. We have a lot of conversations with students throughout the year because it's a hard choice to decide where you want to go. But it all starts with the classes. What are you going to study? And so we often say that one of the biggest differences between studying in the United States versus staying here in Norway, for those of you who are Norwegian, and that would be your other option, is that the U.S. education provides so much more flexibility, where you're able to try out different subjects. You're able to take a class because a crazy professor that you want to experience, or maybe you really like photography, but you don't really want to be a photographer per se. You just want to take advantage of the opportunities that large universities have and a lot of the courses that you take. And in Norway, we start right away into a specific field, and you get a studieløp, and there's very little choice that you have. But in the United States, we don't believe that that gives you a well-rounded education, so we want you to experience other fields. We want you to be taking some history, some social sciences. We want you to take some art and humanities. We want you to take some science. And all of this this breadth of knowledge that we call it gives you the opportunity to try out other academic fields and see what they're like. What kind of course is a biology course at the university level, and that means that you also have the opportunity to try things out before you actually commit yourself to a major. How many of you know what you want to study? Probably some, but certainly not all of you. It's rare that I meet a potential student who knows exactly what they want to study, exactly what they want to be. And so the US system gives you that opportunity to try out different things. You want to go into criminal justice? Super. Start as a criminal justice major. See what it's like to study that at the university level. And then if you're like, wow, that is not what I thought it would be, then you just switch your major. You never start over. That's a huge advantage from the Norwegian system, where if you go into something, you're like, wow, that is not what I thought it was going to be to study business. It's boring. I want to do something else. I'm not passionate about it. Well, in the US, you would just go into someone's office, you'd sign a piece of paper, and you'd switch your major. In Norway, you would have to probably quit your program and wait to the next application round and then try again, or finish in something that you don't really care about. And so for those of you who are curious, you're out there searching, you don't quite know exactly what you want to do, the U.S. Bachelor system can be awesome. And it's because of this buildup, this system, that the American College of Norway can exist, because we can admit students regardless of what your academic field is going to be, because everybody needs to take these courses from various fields. I thought maybe I'd let Dr. Tami Carmichael talk a little bit about essential studies. Dr. Tami Carmichael teaches at the University of North Dakota, and they call this breadth of knowledge that I've been talking about now essential studies. So why don't you talk a little bit about the educational benefit of going to a university where they have essential studies?
Sure. So the essential studies courses are courses that every university in the United States has that all students take in addition to whatever courses they have for their major. So you take courses in the humanities, and you take courses in the sciences, and you take courses in social science, writing courses and speaking courses, because these things will all contribute to you being a more rounded and more educated person. You take those courses regardless of whether you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or an actress or a policeman. So these are courses that are offered, a lot of these courses are offered at American College of Norway, and it gives you an opportunity to be able to start your education, a U.S. style education, practice your English skills, be with a group of fellow Norwegians and some Americans, studying these various topics. And I think it has a couple different benefits. It helps you gain credits in those courses you're required to have for U.S. schools. Like Becky said, it helps you think about what you might actually really want to major in, helps you practice your English skills, helps you develop a lot of the skills that U.S. universities really treasure, and most businesses, when you get a job, treasure, collaboration skills, critical thinking skills, writing and speaking skills, things you need to be a successful professional person. You can start to get all of those experiences here at American College of Norway, and then those courses transfer on to any U.S. institution that you would be going to.
I got my pad of paper ready here because when I meet with students and they're sitting over there where Nick is, I try to explain the system visually, because for a lot of Norwegians it's hard to make sense of it. What do you mean I have to take all these other courses? Well, it's important to remember that the U.S. bachelor's degree is a 4-year program, while in Norway, because you're specializing right away, it's only a 3-year program. But to get this breadth of knowledge, to gain these critical thinking skills, communication skills, you need a little bit more time, and so we give you 1 more year. And I am no artist by any stretch of the imagination, but this is, say, your full bachelor's degree. This is 4 years, and all of your credits that you need to take is in this circle. Well, the biggest section is going to be courses within your major, within your studieretning, and that's can vary a little bit from degree to degree, but it's usually going to be well over half, if not 2/3 of your total credits. And again, it varies from degree to degree, program to program. But then you have this little section over here, and this is what we call those general education requirements. This is where the schools are going to ask you to experience all of the major academic fields, and they're called those general education requirements. Everyone needs them, regardless of whether you're going to, study biology or you're going to study communications. That's the same for everyone who's going to graduate with a degree from that institution, needs to fulfill those general education requirements. But this is my favorite part, this little empty piece of the pie over here. Those are electives, valgfag. This is your education. You get to decide, what am I interested in? What classes do I want to take? Because I am, a multifaceted person. I have lots of different interests. Maybe I'm doing biology, but I really like creative writing, or I like leadership. Well, I can make up my education to fit my personal needs because the university allows me some free credits where I can take because I want to. And that is, I think, a wonderful gift that American universities give to students. It's your education. Everyone's education is going to be different because it's based on what choices did you make. And even within the general education requirements, it's not like there's 10 classes. These are the only 10 classes that you can take. You still get lots of flexibility there as well to choose the classes within the different fields that you think are most interesting. This is not high school all over again. I hear that all the time. This is university level courses that are there to challenge you and to encourage you to expand your way of thinking, your way of solving problems. It is not high school all over again. It's just a different way that the U.S. builds up their education system. And I think for a lot of Norwegians, it's that difference that makes them decide that, you know what, I'm going to get my bachelor's degree in the United States. Once you get to the graduate level, so master's degrees or PhDs, the systems start to look more like each other than they do at the bachelor's. The bachelor, there is a significant difference. But if you look at the top 20 universities in the world, 18 of them are going to be American. The other 2 are British. But if you go then down further into the top ranked universities in the world, the US universities are definitely dominant. And I think it has a little bit to do with this way we build up our education system, the emphasis that we put on critical thinking skills and being able to solve problems using both logical thinking that we get from the math and science, but also the creative thinking that we get from literature and art history and other areas. And it's good to work different sides of our brains.
And I think too, to take that a step further and to talk to you a little bit about like what the classes are like, what classroom time is like. As an instructor, I can speak to that a little bit. There's a difference too between American classrooms and the kind of work that's done in those and maybe what the more traditional Norwegian higher education system is like. And it grows out of what Becky's talking about. We in the United States see the classroom as a place for students to practice and develop learning skills. So it's not just about memorizing things and then having a big test at the end where you demonstrate that for that moment you know all of these facts. The classroom, US classroom, offers multiple opportunities for students to do different kinds of pieces of work, maybe write a paper, maybe work on a project with some fellow classmates, give a presentation, take some exams, maybe some short exams, maybe a longer exam, maybe all of those things within one course. And that gives you multiple opportunities to demonstrate your knowledge, to put your knowledge into practice, and to earn grades. So you're earning your grades out throughout the semester, and it's not just one big test at the end that you have to study for and that makes or breaks it. Because we believe that the classroom is a place for learning as well, and we use the classroom time and the projects for doing that. And I think that's a lot of fun. You get to meet people, interact with them. Maybe you're somebody who is good at speaking, and so you would get better grades in speaking, and you're not as good a test taker. So in a classroom where you have different kinds of ways to earn your grades, you have places where you can really shine and it's much easier for you and you can learn good skills.
It represents the what life would be like in the workplace a lot more so than a traditional academic situation that's based on a final exam. So that's something to consider.
I do have a question that came in.
Yep.
And it was, will all the classes you take at ACN transfer to the American university system?
Yeah, ACN is celebrating its 25th year this year. That's thousands of Norwegian students who started their bachelor's degree with us and then have taken those credits with them to universities all over the United States afterwards. And as far as I've ever experienced, and I've been working at ACN for 6 years, but certainly in that time, but also I've never heard of any story from a student who has not received credit for classes taken at ACN. We have this really good model that we worked out over 25 years, and a lot of it has to do with Dr. Tami Carmichael's home institution, the University of North Dakota, which is a large research university, a leading institution in its region, and it is from the University of North Dakota that students get their official transcripts. So their karakterutskrift from the year at ACN is coming directly from a large, well-known university. And so when you apply to the University of Texas, they're getting a piece of paper, a document that they understand, rather than coming from the University of Oslo, for example, where they would then require course equivalencies and they would require some sort of like international accreditation, which is an expensive and complicated process to go through. Our students I'm going a little Norglish. They don't have to do any of that. So that's an absolute advantage. So the question is, yes, all of the courses will transfer to any university in the United States. How they transfer is going to vary from university to university, and that's something that when students are with us at ACN, that's something that we talk about, because there's over 5,000 universities in the United States and they all have their own rules. So there's there's no easy answer to most people's questions. I often say I wish I had a sign that said it depends, because I could use that so often when students ask me a question. It really depends on the university and their rules and how they process transfer credits. But the thing that's nice is that I get the system, and we have great friends like Dr. Carmichael at universities where we can ask for advice and we can ask for help to try to get the best transfer for all classes as possible, so that maybe they meet some more of your general education requirements. You always have somebody ask, even when you're done at ACN. We say that, just send me an email. Let me talk to your university. Let me see if I can do something on your behalf. And it's hard when you're navigating complicated university systems, but our students are never alone doing that. They always have someone to ask. They always have someone who has been in the system a long time, has a lot of experience to be an advocate for them. And that's what I really think that all of us at ACN are. We're all advocates for our students so that they can have the best possible experience and transfer for each individual, and to make it a little less complicated. What else should we talk about? What classes do we offer? All kinds of stuff.
I'm teaching this semester, I'm teaching public speaking, and I'm teaching a class on protest art. We did a travel course. We went to London to see the arts in London for 1 credit worth of work. In the fall, you've often traveled to Svalbard, and you have classes in politics and history.
Our classes are going to vary every single semester. It depends on who the visiting faculty from our partner universities. We have different faculty every single semester, and they're going to teach courses within their field of expertise. And so it varies, but I often say, and it's kind of, I think, frustrating for students because they want to know what kind of classes they'll be able to choose from. But what I usually say when we don't have classes necessarily to go public with, that, it doesn't really matter what we offer, because my little pie chart over here, regardless of what we offer, it's going to fit in there for every single student. If you're lucky and we have a visiting faculty member from a field of study that you're thinking about, then maybe you'll get some that fall into your big chunk there. We try to get as many as possible, like public speaking in our writing courses, that are pretty common as general requirements at most universities. And then worst case scenario, which is not a bad thing at all, is the class would fall into an elective. So regardless of what we offer, it's going to go into your bachelor's degree, and it's going to get you one step closer, 1 year closer to finishing your U.S. bachelor's.
And I think one of the benefits of all of the classes that you take here, I've taught here at the American College of Norway off and on for a decade, and I see students who gain such incredible skills in their language ability, their ability to think, read, write, and speak in English. So when they go to the U.S. schools, they are so prepared for all of their classes, their U.S. classes. And that can happen in an art class, a history class, a science class, all of those skills that you gain. It's just a wonderful opportunity for Norwegian students who do want to go to the U.S. and have those skills. And one course you always offer at ACN is a writing course. All U.S. universities require, whether you're an international student or a U.S. student, all universities require writing courses, basic composition, and ACN always offers those courses, so those are always required courses that you can fulfill here, and really important ones.
I see we have another question coming in, but I want to just say one more thing on the courses. We often say that when you go abroad, you have to go through a culture shock when you get to the country you're going to study in. But as an international student, typically you have 2 types of shocks you have to go through. And the first is the culture shock. Things smell a little different. They look a little different. Everything's they're bigger if you're going to the U.S. Things just are, there's some emotions there of just being slightly different. And sometimes you can't even identify what the difference is. You just know that there's something different. And that can be a challenge to go through. But international students have culture shock, but they also have academic shock. What kind of expectations are normal in a U.S. classroom? And there are differences from a Canadian, a Norwegian classroom. I don't know where Canada came from, and the U.S. There's going to be differences.
We were talking about Canada at lunch. That's why.
There you go. But you take that academic shock here. So that when you get to the United States, you still have to go through the culture shock and, get used to your new surroundings. But when you walk into your university, when you sit in your classroom and you're at your desk and you're addressing your professor, you're going to know the cultural norms that are expected of you, which will make you more successful. And then the question, is it easier to apply to schools in the States through ACN? I think so. I've met so many Norwegians who have their bachelor's degrees completed, and they say to me, oh, I wish I would have known about ACN when I was looking for schools, because I really wanted to go to the US. I wanted to experience that college experience that I see on movies. And then answer questions. And then sorry, we just got a student coming in. What was I talking about? Totally lost my train of thought.
So going to the United States, is it easier?
Yeah. So many students will apply to a university trying on their own, and then they'll get to a question like, what's your middle name? Something as easy as that. And they're like, I don't have a middle name, and they don't know what to put. So they just close their computers and they don't go on, which is really too bad, because they are losing out on an opportunity to do something they really want because they experience a situation to be difficult. In Norway, when you apply to schools, you go through samordnopptak. And that is a super simple process. You cross off a couple boxes and you wait a couple months for an answer. Well, the U.S., you have to do lots of different things. But when you apply to U.S. schools from ACN, you always have someone to ask. In January, February months where there's a lot of deadlines due, there's a classroom right across the hall from my office, and there's always one or two students sitting in there filling out an application. And I'm over here answering emails and working, and then I get a call from across the hall, Becky, what visa am I applying for? And I'll yell back, F1, and then they'll fill it in, and then they move forward. If you're doing that on your own, who do you ask? So I think it is easier to apply for U.S. schools when you're applying through here.
You certainly get a lot of assistance in the process.
Absolutely.
I think that's
I hope
helpful.
so.
There's a question here about what the English requirements are to apply to ACN.
We're going to look at your English grade from high school. Typically, we say that if a student is at a 4 or higher on their high school in English, then we're not going to ask for anything else. We don't require a TOEFL or an IELTS from our Norwegian students or our Scandinavian students. But if you have a grade that we're a little bit worried about in English from high school, we're going to maybe ask to have a phone conversation or get a letter of recommendation from your English teacher from high school. But there's not really a clear-cut answer, but typically if you're at a 4 or higher, we won't look for anything else. But if you're a little bit lower than that, we still want to hear from you, because we know that grades and how we grade in Norway isn't always maybe a true representation of what our ability is. So we would definitely, if we find the rest of your application interesting, then we would maybe I'd give you a call, or if you're in the area, we'd have you come down and have a conversation. We would want to, because we want to make sure everyone can be successful. And it is a transition to come into the U.S. system, and everything. I mean, you're reading and writing and speaking in English a lot. It's pretty intensive. So we want to make sure that everyone who's admitted to ACN is prepared to be successful.
I would like to just propose a question or change the topic, just because I know that a lot of our partner institutions in the United States have shared that we're going live today, and unfortunately it's 2:00 here, but it's like 6 or 7 in the morning in the US. So there are going to be potential students that want to study abroad here at ACN, and we are talking about academics. So what would you encourage the students to think about when applying for study abroad? Why would you recommend ACN coming from a visiting faculty member, and also coming from someone that has studied abroad before, and why ACN might be a good choice for them.
So from U.S. students coming to ACN?
U.S. students coming to ACN.
Right. Well, I can say right off the bat that one of the main reasons to come to ACN if you're thinking about studying abroad is that ACN offers you so much more than just the classroom experience. And having an international classroom experience is amazing, and you should do it. But here at ACN, you also have the opportunity to be part of a learning community. You get to know your fellow students really well. You are going to be in class with and living near lots of Norwegians, and you're going to get to be friends. You're going to go home with them on the weekends. You're going to go to their cabin and go skiing in the wintertime. You're going to form really close connections that come with learning communities. You have the opportunity for being involved in activities and taking on leadership positions. So you can be involved in one of the many committees here and be able to put that on a resume so you get that kind of experience. There are internships that are available here. So for students in the U.S. who think they have to choose between internship and study abroad, you can do both of them here if you're interested. And we can get you more information about that if you contact us directly. We can tell you what's available. So right off the top of my head, those are just some very, really good reasons why you should be at ACN.
And then coming from a student who studied abroad, I went to the University of Oslo my sophomore year of college, and I hung out with 0 Norwegians. I don't think I met a single Norwegian, because we see this a lot that international students get clumped together with other international students, and I didn't speak Norwegian then. I do now, so you can write me an email in Norwegian if you want. But I met people from all over the world, and that was awesome. That was a great experience, but I didn't meet a single Norwegian. And at ACN, ironically called the American College of Norway, and all of our courses are American and our faculty is American, but I would say that our Americans get a more authentic Norwegian experience because most of our students are Norwegians, and they're living together with Norwegians in the student housing. Like Tami said, they're building real friendships with Norwegians, like real Norwegians.
The reason you want to come here to meet Norwegians.
Yeah. Learning about Norwegian food and, going skiing in the cabins. That's so super Norwegian. So I would say that for our Americans thinking about studying abroad, it might be attractive to think about going to Oslo, which is only 40 minutes away, and going to the University of Oslo like I did, but I didn't know the American College of Norway existed. But you will have a much more authentic Norwegian experience here at ACN than at any of the regular universities.
Those friendships you form because you're going to get to know each other so well, they become networks. They become networks when you get back into the United States. There are American students here from multiple universities, and so you get to know each other really well. You've got a network across the United States. The Norwegians who come to study, you become a network. You then have this similar network in Norway. People grow up, they go on into their careers, they go back and forth in terms of just friendships, but also professionally, the professional connections that are made. And that comes because this is such a really lovely community of people who get to know each other so well and support each other.
So could you maybe touch on that just a bit? Because now we're talking why Americans should come here and study abroad, and we talked about why Norwegians should come here to come to the U.S. But let's say we put that all together, which we do. So we have Norwegians and Americans studying abroad here. Sometimes we have students from other countries too. We have students from Saudi Arabia. Right. So could you just talk about how it's a benefit for the Norwegians too to have Americans studying with them?
When I first meet Norwegians who want to go abroad, and I'm stereotyping because not everyone's this way, but there's 3 places in that huge country that exist in the minds of lots of Norwegians. And it is California, but not the whole state, just the southern part, a very small part of the state. And then there's New York, but not the whole state, just the city. And then for some reason, the whole state of Florida has made the map. But by coming to ACN and meeting Americans from all over the U.S., but also meeting other Norwegians that have maybe studied in high school in different parts of the U.S., all of a sudden, the U.S. becomes so much bigger. And students can really take advantage of the size and the possibilities in the U.S. than just looking at 3 really small areas. So one thing of having this really unique group of students studying together so intensely for a year is, I think, a huge advantage for our Norwegians to give them more exposure to all of the really neat opportunities that are in the United States. And outside of regions that are so specific. So I think that's a great advantage of being together.
And just like making it large is true, but making it small is also the case. You get to be really good friends with people, and there you decide to study at their home institution. People who are going to go to the University of North Dakota, for instance, now, Norwegians, there are people who are going to pick them up at the airport and have them come home with them for the weekend, who are able to tell them what kind of clothes to bring, and where they can offer to take them shopping as soon as they land to get the supplies that they need.
The reverse of what the Norwegians did for the Americans.
Taking them
here.
home for American Thanksgiving dinners, and helping them appreciate American traditions and participate in those. So you get both.
Yeah. We already have a student going to UND in the fall. She's here with us now, and she already has Thanksgiving plans with an American student that studied here last semester. So those friendships, I think, are extremely important.
And if you decide to go to someplace like the University of North Dakota, but Florida was on the map for you mentally before, you're going to have friends in Florida that you can all road trip down to visit and stay with. So
Spring break.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I think we're starting to, actually we went over our half an hour time.
I would say, obviously we keep letting you know, if you're thinking of coming to ACN, March 1st, priority applications are due. If you apply online, we'll get back to you. We'll send you an email more than likely, but also you need to send in all your documents because that's super important so we can actually fully evaluate the application. And we're pretty quick at ACN, so if you send your things in, we'll probably get back to you within 2 weeks or so. But if you are curious about what it's like at ACN and you want to check it out and you're in the area, or even if you're not and you want to make a weekend trip to Oslo, come down here, schedule a visit. You can talk with Becky one-on-one. You can get a tour of the dormitories where you live. You can meet current students if it's a Monday through Thursday because we don't have classes Friday, which is a nice perk. But really take that advantage because we're here for you and we really want to, have you here with us. And we feel that most students that do actually come here for a visit, it helps make everything seem realistic rather than just seeing on Instagram and Facebook and on the web. So I would highly encourage that you can send an email to Becky herself. Her email is super easy, becky@americancollege.no, and schedule a visit. And if you're thinking of studying abroad here, same thing. Send an email to Becky. She can help you out with more courses. Our course schedule should be up and coming soon, right?
Yep.
So that will be posted. But really, just if you have any questions, we're here for you. Like I always say on Instagram, send us a DM. I love when you guys send a DM, and if I don't have the answer right away, I run right next door to Becky's office, because mine is just across the hallway, and I say, hey, what is that price point for this? And she says, I will give it to you, and there we go. So if you have any questions, seriously, we're here for you. I think that's one thing that we really specialize in.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you. Thanks, Tami.
Yeah, thanks. Great to be here. Hope that we see lots of Norwegians and Americans here at ACN next year.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll post this video on YouTube because obviously some of you can't watch it right away and it will go away after 24 hours. So stay tuned for that. And if you aren't subscribed to our YouTube channel, it's super easy to find. It's American College of Norway. A new video just got posted today. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. I want to wish you all a happy weekend and thank you for tuning in.